facts you might not know. From the biggest flops to the greatest hits, this is Trash Can Tidbits.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to my show, Trash Can Tidbits. I'm your host, Beaton, and I'm ready to sling my culture facts that you might not know. Last week, I asked the question, how come animalities and babalities didn't transfer from Mortal Kombat 3 to Mortal Kombat 4? The answer is, because the 3D capabilities at the time didn't allow for smooth morphing transitions. Even though Liu Kang's dragon fatality and Scorpion's transforming into a scorpion fatality was retained for the game, the 3D assets couldn't allow transformations on a larger scale for all the characters. It would have been very difficult to implement complex morphing for all the characters, so they only kept them for 2 of them. Later games in the series like MK9 would bring babalities back in their full glory. Now with that addressed, let's get started with fact number 1. Did you know that Val Kilmer played the biblical hero Moses twice? The first time was when he voiced the character in the animated movie The Prince of Egypt, where his singing was dubbed by Amik Byram. The second time was for a 2004 stage musical adaptation of the Ten Commandments, but it soon turns out that he was miscast in the role as his singing was not quite suitable for the character. What is notable about this production, however, is that it featured a breakout performance by a pre-American Idol Adam Lambert as Joshua. Fact 2. Did you know that the fight scene between Lara Croft and Powell in the first Tomb Raider movie had a different death scene planned for the villain? In the film, Croft and her opponent Powell engage in a no-holds-barred fisticuffs fight as the surrounding temple collapses all around them. The fight scene ends with Croft simply unleashing a series of strikes, punching Powell in the chest, and he falls to the ground and dies. Kind of underwhelming if you ask me. There was a deleted scene, however, that shows Powell getting caught in one of the time storms that is floating around the temple as he falls to the ground. The camera pans back to reveal his body is now permanently encased in the temple's many displays. A more fitting end, as Powell wanted to go down in history, so now he is history. For some reason, that death scene was unused in the final film. Fact 3. Did you know that the game Batman Arkham City was teased in the previous game Arkham Asylum, but nobody was able to find the Easter egg? Apparently, there's a hidden wall in an area of Warden Quincy Sharp's office that's so well hidden it can't be seen in detective mode, and players were unaware of its existence or the fact that a new game was in the works. The team at Rocksteady eventually had to tell gamers and the press themselves that there was a teaser for the next game and where it can be seen. The trick is to detonate 3 coatings of the explosive gel on this wall, which will unlock a secret area containing blueprints for Arkham City, effectively setting the stage for the second game in the Batman Arkham series. Fact 4. Did you know that singer LeAnn Rimes was way too young for her cameo at the end of Coyote Ugly? Only 14 when she had her first successful hit record, she memorably did the singing for Piper Parabo's character Violet in the 2000 film Coyote Ugly, including the hit song Can't Fight the Moonlight. Rimes makes a cameo at the end of the film singing the song in the title bar and starring in its accompanying music video. She was only 17 when the scene and the video was filmed, so she was still technically a minor and therefore not allowed to even be in a bar. So yeah, Can't Fight the Moonlight is one of Rimes' biggest hits, but you allow her to appear in a bar in a movie. It's a wonder the filmmakers never knew about that. Fact 5. Did you know that there's a reason why the show Modern Family was filmed the way it was, with candid camera filmmaking and interviews with the characters? In the show's universe, it's explained that the unseen cameraman is a Swedish filmmaker who was shooting a documentary about American family life. This filmmaker is revealed in behind-the-scenes info to have been a foreign exchange student who once lived with the Dunphy family. The filming technique itself is meant to be a takeoff on a style of filmmaking called cinema verite, which you see in lots of documentaries. Modern Family is essentially parodying that style. Fact 6. Going back to Val Kilmer for this next fact, did you know that although he didn't provide Moses' singing in The Prince of Egypt, he nevertheless does appear on the film's soundtrack? His name is listed among the names of the chorus members in an original song that doesn't appear in the film. The song, Humanity, was performed by, among others, Boyz II Men, and is a pop gospel song. Kilmer's voice can't really be heard among the choir singing, but his name does appear in the liner notes, so there is that. Fact 7. Did you know that the children who played Jane and Michael Banks in Mary Poppins appeared in a total of 3 Disney films together? Karen Dotrice and Matthew Garber had earlier appeared together in The 3 Lives of Thomasina, about a cat that seemingly has the power to come back from the dead and changes the lives of her family. The 2 children didn't play siblings in that film, but they did in their most famous roles, that of the Banks children in Mary Poppins. After that, they made one more film for Disney, The No-Mobile, which was released in 1967 and which they also played siblings. After that, Karen and Matthew parted ways and, by her own admission, didn't stay in touch. Unfortunately, Garber passed away in 1977 of pancreatitis at the age of 21. Dotrice recently made a cameo in Mary Poppins Returns as a woman asking her Jane Banks successor, Emily Mortimer, for directions. Her final line to her is, appropriately, "Many thanks, sincerely," referencing the last line of the song that she sang in the original film when she reads the list of requirements for the perfect nanny. Fact 8. Did you know that Tom Hanks originally did not use an accent when playing Forrest Gump? Early screen tests for the film show Hanks using his own manner of speaking, which didn't really sound right. Winston Groom, who wrote the original novel, gave Forrest a very thick Southern accent. Ultimately, the person who inspired the way Forrest should sound like was the child actor who played him as a boy, Michael Connor Humphreys, a Mississippi native who actually spoke that way. Tom Hanks ended up imitating him and developed Forrest's iconic voice through him. This wasn't the first time Hanks imitated a child actor playing a younger version of himself, as he did the same thing through observing child actor David Moscow, who played his younger counterpart for the movie Big. Fact 9. Did you know that Nicolas Cage starred in 3 back-to-back-to-back action movies throughout 1996 and 1997? He starred in The Rock in 1996 alongside the legendary Sean Connery. Immediately after that, production on Face Off started and was released in 1997. Cage also agreed to star alongside John Malkovich in Con Air, which was also released in 1997. Those latter 2 films actually overlapped in production at one point, which meant Cage filmed both at the exact same time, so he was a bit busier than usual. These days, of course, he is always busy, but then again, that's Nicolas Cage. Both The Rock and Con Air were incidentally produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. Fact 10. Did you know that the original novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley was originally published anonymously? During the summer of 1816, she and her newly married husband, poet Percy Shelley, were holed up with another romantic poet of the era, Lord Byron, in Switzerland. She, Percy, and Byron set about a writing contest of who could write the best ghost story. Mary was the only one who was able to finish her story, as Percy couldn't come up with anything, and Byron very quickly lost interest. Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, was published anonymously in 1818. It's possible this was the case because there were not many women authors at the time that were taken seriously. It wasn't until 1823 that a second release credited Mary as the author. And here's this week's trivia question. Insomniac Games, the developers of games like Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet & Clank, and Marvel's Spider-Man, have become one of PlayStation's most beloved studios. But you may be surprised to learn that their very first game was not the original Spyro. Their first game was in fact a first-person shooter that was heavily inspired by Doom. This game was a critical success, but a financial dud due to a lack of advertising. My question to you is, what was Insomniac's very first game? And there we go for this week. I hope you enjoyed this list, and I'm glad I was able to provide for you. Stay tuned for more fun stuff, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell for future video notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.